Today, we're going to walk through the exact path of a full-blown network compromise. We're talking about how an attacker goes from a total nobody, a low-level user, to the absolute king of a corporate domain. So, how on earth does that even happen? It all really boils down to this one question. I mean, it seems impossible, doesn't it? But as you're about to see, it's not some magic trick. It's a methodical, step-by-step process of finding and exploiting a whole chain of small, seemingly insignificant weaknesses that, when put together, lead to a total collapse of security. Okay, so the very first thing any attacker does is get the lay of the land. Before you can conquer a kingdom, you've got to have a map. This is the reconnaissance phase, where the attacker is just silently charting out the entire digital territory. And the map they're desperate to build is of the network's Active Directory. You got to think of Active Directory as both the kingdom's phone book and its master security guard, all rolled into one. It doesn't just list who's who. It decides who gets to go where, and more importantly, do what. For an attacker, it's the ultimate prize, the source of all truth and power on the network. And look, this attacker isn't just wandering around hoping to get lucky. Nope. They have one very specific goal in mind. Find the absolute shortest, most efficient path from their measly, low-privilege account straight to the throne. And that throne is the domain admins group. So, how do they do this? They use these really smart tools, things like Bloodhound and PowerView. Now, these tools don't actually attack anything. They ask Active Directory a bunch of questions. Hey, who can log into this server? Who's a member of that group over there? And bit by bit, they build this incredible graph, connecting their little student X account to every computer and every user until the clear path to the domain admins group just materializes out of all the noise. Once all that data is collected, the mapping is complete. And here's the kicker. The tool itself signs off with this super cheerful message, "Happy graphing." The attacker now has their map. The hunt is officially on. All right, so they've got the map. Now what? They've got to make their first real move. They need to get some kind of leverage, some initial power. It is time to find that first key to unlock that first door. And you know where they find their opening? In the simplest of mistakes. A scanning tool called PowerUp finds a super common misconfiguration, a web server service that literally any user on the machine can modify. This lets them basically tell that service, hey, next time you restart, do me a favor and run this little command for me. And what's the command? It's to add their own account directly to the local administrators group. Just like that, boom, they've taken over their first machine. But hold on, that's just one machine. It's an absolutely critical first step for sure, but they are still a very, very long way from their goal. Now, they have to use this tiny foothold to start climbing up the ladder. So now we get to what's called lateral movement. The goal here is simple. Hop from this one machine they own to the next and the next, climbing that ladder of privileges and getting closer and closer to a really high-value target. And there are a couple of classic ways they pull this off. First, there's GPO abuse. If they can find a group policy they can edit, they can basically rewrite the company's digital rulebook to give themselves access everywhere. But the much more common method is session hunting. They use the access they already have to scan the entire network, asking one very simple question over and over. Is a domain admin logged in anywhere right now? And bingo. The hunt pays off, big time. Their scan reveals that a domain admin account, this one called svadmin, has an active session on a server named dcorp-mgmt. They've basically found an unlocked office with the keys just sitting right there on the desk. Okay, this is it. This is the moment everything has been building towards. They've found their golden opportunity. Now, it's time for the final heist, to steal those credentials and take complete and total control of the domain. And the execution from here, it's lightning fast. They remotely connect to that server, and they run a tool like Safety Cats. This thing just scrapes the computer's memory and pulls out the domain admin's password hash. It's like a digital fingerprint that works just as well as the actual password. With that hash, they can now be that admin. They can log in anywhere. It is game over. But here's the thing. A smart attacker doesn't just stop there. I mean, being a domain admin is great, but that privilege can be taken away. They want something permanent. They want the ultimate secret that will let them be king forever. To get this permanent key, they use a crazy powerful technique called DC sync. See, as a domain admin, They have the right to pretend to be a domain controller themselves. They can just waltz up to another DC and say, hey, I'm a new controller here. Could you please replicate all your user password data to me? And the DC, trusting them completely, just does it. It hands over the password hash for every single user, including a very, very special one. See, there's this one super special account called KRBTG. Its password hash is the secret key used to sign and validate every single access token, every Kerberos ticket in the entire domain. If you have that key, you can forge your own tickets. And this is the infamous golden ticket. It's a master key to the entire kingdom, and it can be valid for years. And with that golden ticket in hand, the attacker isn't just an admin anymore. Oh no. They're basically a ghost in the machine. They can be anyone they want, they can access anything they want, and their access can survive password resets, even getting kicked out of the domain admins group. They are, for all intents and purposes, the king. But why stop with just one kingdom, right? In this final phase, the attacker makes sure their reign is absolute and permanent, and then they look to expand their empire to all the other connected domains. First thing they do is secure their throne. They give their original low-level account those special DCS sync rights, which basically turns it into a skeleton key that can steal any password on demand. Then they create a backdoor using a special recovery account, giving them a super stealthy way back in, even if they get discovered. And finally, they look outward. They use their total control to exploit the trust between all the connected domains, letting them conquer the entire corporate forest. So you see, this whole thing, it wasn't one single brilliant hack. It was a chain reaction, a methodical exploitation of simple misconfigurations and overlooked permissions. And it all leads to one pretty critical question for all of us. In your own company's digital kingdom, do you really know who holds all the keys?